Welcome everyone to our NCAA social series. I'm Andy Katz. I'm pleased to be joined by Joni Comstock. She's the Senior Vice President of NCAA Championships, and Renee Baumgartner. She is the Chair of the Division I Competition Oversight Committee, and of course, the Director of Athletics at Santa Clara in the Bay Area. All right, so we're going to talk about gender equity and where we are right now. Last time we did this on the show, we discussed the updates prior to the phase 2 recommendations being released. So if you can, each of you, where we are in terms of what happened after that. And I'll start with you, Joni.
Okay, well, thank you, Andy. And if I could just take about 10 seconds to do one thing. This is really my opportunity to say thank you, first of all, to Renee for joining us, but want to just give kudos regarding the Division I Women's Soccer Championship, fantastic, hosted by the West Coast Conference in Santa Clara. So again, thanks so much for that. And the reason I want to start with that is that that's really an example of the success and the advancement that we've really made as we've continued to focus on things with enhancing the experience of all of our student athletes, but certainly our women's student athletes. And so, we have we have the report, we have kind of a game plan that we're really going to start with the Competition Oversight Committee in January, and much of it will be around really just asking those questions, being sure that we're everything that we're doing equally for men and women, and then putting in really a foundation so that going forward, we can always be sure that we're transparent and that we're providing those report outs so that we don't kind of get into this situation again that we've got to do a little makeup.
Renee, and I'm going to get to the soccer here in a minute, but go ahead, Renee.
No, I'm really looking about the Competition Oversight Committee. We have a lot of work ahead of us. I loved hosting the College Cup. It was an amazing environment, over 14,000 in attendance, sold out the first night. I think all the student athletes had an incredible experience, and that's really what NCAA championships are about. It's the core of the NCAA, and Joni and her team do such a great job of hosting these amazing championships, really to give a student athlete the best experience possible when they get to compete at the highest level. So we were very proud of how it turned out.
So I want to piggyback off of that because from what I could see from afar, yes, it looked tremendous. But what I thought was great in this instance was there had to be a pivot because obviously Plan A was going to be at the MLS facility, and you guys did a great job of having to deal with something that was thrown at you, and curveballs happen all the time. And yet it was hosted well by you guys, and everyone I've talked to said it went great. So Renee, Joni, just how you handle things on the fly and still never letting your guard down on making sure that equity piece is what it should be.
Andy, it's curveballs and COVID. I think Joni and I, after the last year and a half, have really bonded together on how to make sure that championships, when we are able to host, are at the highest level, whether it's attendance, student athlete experience. The coaches have worked hard. I mean, it's just really important that if you're able to host, that you put your best foot forward. And my staff absolutely did that. And Stevens Stadium is electric. It's a perfect soccer facility. And we were just so fortunate to have it on the West Coast. And we wanted to make sure that, the Women's Soccer Committee decides to bring it back, in the future as well. And I think our soccer fans really appreciated having the opportunity to watch incredible soccer. It was amazing. And that's what gender equity is about. Men and women. I've been in college athletics for a really long time and watched this evolution, and couldn't be more proud of the evolution. And we got a ways to go, and we know that. And that's why the hard work lifting is going to be done in January, February this spring. And we're going to make sure we do the best foot forward to provide incredible experience for both men and women.
Joni?
Yeah, I would just piggyback on that just a little bit to say that, as Renee alluded to, we really learned a lot of flexibility, adaptability around the COVID experience, trying to run, in our case, in the national office, 67 championships in about a 3.5 month period. That took incredible cooperation and collaboration between the membership and the national office and leadership from people like Renee. So while we did not really want this to be the way that we addressed them, additional support and opportunities for women, I think we're now ready to go with it, because we, again, through the COVID piece, we learned that quicker response and coming together to do the things we need to do. So the Competition Oversight Committee will be meeting more frequently. We will be providing the data for them, the decisions that they need to make, and I think they're definitely prepared to make them. And whether it's some of the recent things that we've done with increasing the brackets with some of our championships, but some good things have been done so far, and we have many more to go.
I just want to peel back to the sort of this wake-up call that obviously happened last spring. In the past, leading up to that, because we're now seeing great cooperation, at least within the basketball committees. What did you see in a lot of these different sports, Joni, and then Renee? Some that have men and women, so like soccer versus softball, baseball, which obviously are played both on a field, but they're not exactly the same. I mean, what kind of cooperation was seen in the past that has now changed, Joni?
Well, I think that because the Competition Oversight Committee really had responsibility for all of our championships except Division I men's women's basketball and the FCS championship, that we really have, that group has worked collectively over the years to be sure that we were doing that to the best of our ability. Many of the championships through the years, we've worked to combine them, for example, with some of the innovative things we did with track and field, putting the tennis championships together, the golf championships. And I think now it's really continuing that work. And as I said, being sure that our membership feels free to ask any question, to put a little pressure to make sure that we're coming through with data and that there is that transparency piece about everything that we're doing. And then again, I think there's just renewed commitment to let's go and let's work together.
I couldn't agree more with Joni. I think, we have a lot of core values and a student athlete experience, health and safety, making sure we're providing brackets so that they're fair and equitable. We need to be fiscally responsible. And so we're taking a deep dive, a holistic approach to all of the sports that the COC is overseeing at this point in time for championship. That's what I'm most excited about, is an opportunity to make a difference. And this is just another platform for us to say, what needs to happen. For example, in women's softball, they needed a day of rest, and that's about health and safety. And so we're going back and really, athletics has changed. Women are, having these incredible opportunities to compete at the highest level, and maybe it's a little antiquated and we need to go back and take a deep dive. And that's exactly what we're doing. And fortunately, we've got great leadership with Joni and her staff, and we're all committed to making it better.
And to that point, Renee, and obviously, Joni, you obviously have to deal with your network partners. How much are you saying, look, to make this happen, we have to make adjustments? Maybe it's in scheduling, to that point, maybe a day off, work with us here because this needs to be equitable.
I would just say in terms of ESPN that they've been excellent. And again, it's just been a matter of communicating, let's work together. I think all of us are continuing to see the incredible just benefits of talking about how fantastic our female student athletes are. This is, sometimes with things that are a little bit negative, it's still attention. And I think as much as we didn't want it to be in this way, we really have elevated and given more attention to our women's championships. And we're seeing it, just for example, just before we got on, I was looking and with the women's soccer championship, we were up, as probably Renee knows, almost 18%. And broadcast ratings were very strong. And so, again, we appreciate ESPN. Good things are going on there, and it's a team effort.
Renee, and I don't want to put you on the spot as just at Santa Clara, and I know you guys have always had a great history of women's sports at the university, but it's not just about the championships. I mean, I've talked to a lot of athletic directors, conference commissioners, coaches around the country over the last year and a half, and this issue needs to make sure that it's happening at the granular level, from the schools on up. What are you seeing, on your campus, in your league, or what is being discussed among your peers to make sure that the equity piece, is also at that grassroots level before we even get to the championships? Renee?
Well, it's all about culture. And I think that the president's definitely value at a school, especially like a Santa Clara, you're balancing the mind, body, and spirit. And I think that's a thread that goes through all schools. I mean, I've been at big schools, I've been at, a school like Santa Clara, and really athletics is the front door. It's the key of bringing people together. And, it's not just the men's sports that are having great success, it's the women's sports. And I think that the college presidents understand that that's an incredible, important aspect of a college experience, not only for the student athletes, but the students at that university, their alumni, their fans. And I think the NCAA has done a great job of providing the platform for the championships. And now it's really everybody else roles and responsibilities to value that on their campuses. And, the gender equity piece is something that I believe everybody is valuing, especially right now in the climate and what should be happening. And the future is incredibly bright. I mean, look at baseball, softball. Softball had millions and millions of viewers last year, and they're just playing catch up. And it's incredible to watch how broadcast, universities, conferences, everybody, the NCAA is embracing what's transpiring, because there's so many great stories to tell, and they need to be told because they're inspiring. And I think that's really what this is all about, is making sure we're providing an opportunity for stories to be told and experience to be had.
Joni, on those brackets last year, obviously COVID, we can't really judge that year, because obviously there was a major issue of trying to get everyone in one place and limit the numbers. So I'm going to put that on the side. But in general, what was the sort of the hang up as to why some of these brackets were not at sort of, at their full capacity, that now we're seeing that in various sports?
Right. I think, Andy, just to be totally honest, we've always tried to sort of manage budgets and those sorts of things, and the annual budget increases that has been provided to the Competition Oversight Committee. And, in their defense, they've just had a number of very difficult choices to make, and have tried to kind of spread the money as they saw fit. And so I think the most important thing is now where the board and President Emmert have said, hey, we're going forward with this. We're not going to wait. And we're thrilled now that we've obviously seen that increase in the beach volleyball bracket, and also women's ice hockey. So, and we will continue that and do good things in terms of providing those opportunities.
So one thing that I thought was so clear in the volleyball regional finals, and what I love about this, and I hope this is the case in terms of embracing it, is sometimes I think we get caught up in the equitable part of fair play in terms of venue, not gender equity, and think, oh, it should be on a neutral court. When in reality, like what we saw, and sometimes I wish that obviously this would happen in some of the other sports, the crowds were amazing. And I know, some coaches may say, hey, it's not fair if we're going on the road, although Nebraska won at Texas. Look, you earned the seed, you earned a host, and it doesn't always work that you win when you host. But what we saw, whether it was Pittsburgh or Texas, just last week, was unbelievable. I mean, how much, Joni and Renee, is this also a point of discussion? Say, hey, you know what, this is pretty good. We don't necessarily need to go to neutrals before our actual, Final Four or whatever, whichever level we're going to the championship. Let's keep it on campus as far as we possibly can.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think really it's been a credit in most cases to our coaches in each of those sports, and then also our sport committees that decide those things in terms of format and how they want to conduct the championships. For years, they have realized that that is part of, again, making the regular season even more valuable. That hey, let's get those, let's perform well. Let's not just get into the championship, but we want the opportunity to host, and that it's a really big deal. And I think, again, our coaches and committees have been really had the vision to see that this is how we're going to grow attendance and grow real continued interest in those championships. And so, again, there really hasn't been a lot of debate about it. Now, maybe going forward later, we will, but right now, I think everybody's very, very happy with the format.
Renee?
Well, I think it's important to everybody know that we've done surveys, whether it's in our conference about, would you rather play in a big venue and have it 1/3 full, or play in a venue where it fits the size of the championship and have it electric? And it's been, very high rating on, we want to play in a venue that really is electric and has a atmosphere that's going to feel like a championship format. So I think as the competition oversight looks at the different venues and opportunities, we have to take that into consideration, because that's part of the student athlete experience. So again, it's a deep dive, holistic approach, do what's best for each sport. There's no cookie cutter template for this, and we need to be creative and really focus on those core values and provide the best opportunities for our student athletes to have an amazing experience.
So speaking of that feedback, what have you heard from the student athletes in terms of what they want from, the amenities to, how they travel to what they see, when they actually get to the championship?
Well, I think that it's really important for everybody to understand that, the travel is very similar. We work through a travel company through the NCAA. We try to provide hotels. Obviously, if you're in a different part of the country and the hotel's may not be equitable, but the best ones in that facility, but they have an electric, environment, you have to weigh it all out. So we're really hoping, in the future that we get more universities to submit bids who have top seeds that can provide an environment and really showcase not just in certain pockets of the United States, but across the United States. And I think as the sports continue to grow, and we get more exposure, and the competitions are phenomenal, people are going to be attracted, and they're going to want to be part of this incredible journey, watching these student athletes compete at this high level.
Yeah, I would just add to that going forward, we're going to be sure that we do everything we can with the sport committees and for the competition oversight committee to connect those student athlete voices and feedback for the sport committees, again, and COC to make the decisions going forward. I think in many cases, we have had just tremendous facilities and those, as you said, Andy, amenities. We have made some adjustments. I'm proud of those. The COC said, hey, this is really important. Let's make the investment in a new surface for the semifinals and finals for volleyball. We did that last year and this year, and we're pleased about that. I actually happen to be in Columbus, Ohio right now speaking of electric, waiting for the Division I Women's Volleyball Championship to kick off. They're about sold out, by the way, if anybody wants to get a ticket. But when I walked outside of the hotel last night, it was really thrilling to see. I looked up and I saw the police lights, and of course one of the teams was getting a police escort, and there was a fantastic wrap around the exterior of the bus, and it just looked very exciting and just looked fantastic. And so, we want to focus on, as you said, the amenities and celebrating the student athlete, and we're going to continue to do that.
All right, last thing as we wrap up. So volleyball is sort of the last big one of the fall championships. How would you sort of grade the way the fall has gone in what I know is still, we're not out of the pandemic by any stretch of the, we are still dealing with everything. But how would you say, with crowds and overall, that you feel, how do you feel about how the fall went to this point as we are on the doorstep of volleyball? Joni and Renee?
Well, I would just say in terms of stats that I was just looking at it a few minutes ago, we are up, if you compare our statistics to 1920, which was obviously the last really full year for us, we are up in attendance in every championship. That we continue to see just incredible numbers in our social media. And we're waiting a little bit. Of course, there's a lag with the revenue, but things look just excellent. Broadcast ratings, as I said before, are strong. And so, we're just really appreciative, and the hosts have done a great job, and we're going to continue to support them.
I am thrilled that we got to compete in the fall. As you know, all fall championships competed last spring, and to be able to turn it around and have these coaches and student athletes ready in a very short period of time to compete in the fall is tremendous. Attendance is up, and I think that if you look across the country, it's just exciting to have these student athletes compete at the highest level, whether it's, this championship that they're winning or the heartbreak. That's what college athletics is about. And couldn't be more excited about how the NCAA and the universities and everybody's come together in a pandemic really to provide an outstanding student athlete experience. And it really is the core, which is the NCAA championships. There's not a pinnacle that's higher if you're a student athlete, and just excited about winter and spring championships and everything that we're doing to make sure that we're providing a great student athlete experience and that it's equitable.
And this weekend should be a great show, as you said, in Columbus. It's sort of a Big Ten ACC challenge with Louisville and Pitt making their inaugural appearances, and then two Big Ten teams, Nebraska and Wisconsin. So it should be a great show in women's volleyball. Joni Comstock, Renee Baumgartner, appreciate your time. And as always, everyone can go to ncaa.org/social series, where all our social series are archived. Thanks for watching, everyone.